Yeah, no, and thank you for listening. We were discussing it today when we were recording our latest episode. It would be great to do a crossover with you guys.
Yeah, no, that would be phenomenal. Bob and I would enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, so what we'll do is afterwards we can like have a chat and stuff and see what times work out for you. I mean, it's a bit of a nightmare as Tom knows because I'm in the UK and then Simone is in South Africa, so there's like 101 different time zones to deal with.
Dang. Yeah, that that sounds like a lot of fun. Oh man.
So what sort of movies do you guys cover on your podcast?
Sorry, say it again.
What kind of movies do you guys cover in your podcast? Because I'm not gonna lie, I haven't listened to it yet because I don't actually have headphones right now. Mine died.
Ooh, yeah, that's rough. So we cover pretty much everything. The tagline for the podcast is we review a classic movie and a glass of whiskey.
Oh, nice.
So honestly, we do just about anything. Like the last two movies we watched were Catch Me If You Can and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Oh wow, okay.
So we we do just about anything.
That's insane. That's really, really cool. So I mean, what are you doing for your next episode?
The next episode coming out, let's see, what is coming out tomorrow? So yeah, we release every Monday at midnight, or I guess
cool.
Sunday
now
midnight.
recording.
Oh,
that was Craig. He records.
Thanks, Craig. Let's pull up our schedule. Let's see. Today's the 18th. So tomorrow, actually, Catch Me If You Can is the episode that comes out. But yeah, so our next month is Treasure of the Sierra Madre, West Side Story, Fight Club, Shawshank, E.T., Forrest Gump, Doctor Strangelove.
Holy crap!
So yeah, we're going all over the place.
There's some really, really fantastic movies. I mean, I love Shawshank. It's such a great film.
Yeah, we're excited to get into it. So the crazy thing about Shawshank is that Bob and I actually both live in Ohio. And the site where they recorded Shawshank is like right in between the two of us.
Oh wow! Okay.
The Mansfield Reformatory Prison is where they filmed the entire thing, and so we both visited there. They do like haunted tours there. It's a big part of Ohio history. It's kind of cool.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, Shawshank's a good one. But yeah, we literally do absolutely anything. And then we try to do like 1 or 2 bonus episodes a month, where we'll do like fun top 5 episodes where like the first one we just did top 5 comedies of the 2000s. And I argued with Bob about whether or not 500 Days of Summer was a comedy. And that was fun.
I mean, you have a pretty good point there, to be fair. I mean, I don't know if you would call it oh gosh, why is these adverts playing? Sorry, I'm on the Twitch thing and the Amazon adverts are playing.
That's why I asked you to repeat yourself earlier, is because I got on Twitch and I had to mute it.
Right, okay, let's do that. Boom, done. Okay. So we've discussed 500 Days of Summer as well on our podcast, like in the old podcast before we joined the network. And we were saying how it's sort of like he's definitely sort of a subject of the whole Manic Pixie dream. What's it called? Manic Pixie Dream Girl fantasy.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I think the struggle that I have with Bob calling it a comedy is that there are comedic elements to the movie, but it itself is not a comedy. You know what I mean?
No. Gotta agree with you there.
Ooh, yeah. See, I can't wait for Bob to hear this.
Is he also joining us today?
No, Bob is not joining us today. He's actually a pastor at a church, so he's doing the whole church thing right now.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, literally, like we had not done these top 5 episodes before, and we sat down to record it. And we hadn't told each other what our top 5s were yet. And so we sat down and I'm like, all right, Bob, what's your number 5 top comedies from the 2000s? He goes, 500 Days of Summer. And in that moment, I thought that the podcast was going to be over.
You're like, what?
Yeah, I looked at I literally I'm very famous on the podcast for my plosives. I get very excitable very easily. And I looked at Bob and I'm like, that's not a comedy. And I kind of yelled it. And in that moment, I was like, oh, the podcast's done. Like, Bob's going to murder me right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing about like movies and things. They're so divisive with things. Like Simone does not care at all about Star Wars or Indiana Jones, and it breaks my heart every day.
Oh, Simone. All right,
it really hurts me.
Yeah, we need to have a chat with her. This is going to be an issue.
Gotta straighten her out.
Oh man, yeah. I actually just got my wife to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark for the first time, and she loved it.
Oh, brilliant. Well, is she saying that or does she actually love it?
No, she grew up with a dad who showed her like movies like Shawshank when she was like, 5, 6, 7 years old.
Oh, amazing.
So like she grew up watching like Die Hard and, Shawshank and stuff like that. So she actually enjoys it. She had never watched the Mission Impossible movies. So we're working our way through the Mission Impossibles and she loves them.
Fantastic. That's so good.
Except for Mission Impossible 2, because it's a terrible movie.
Yeah, it's a garbage movie for garbage people. Yeah, I'm debating. I've just recently started dating someone, and I'm debating on whether to sort of gauge her feelings about The Princess Bride, because it's one of those extremely divisive movies, and I don't think I could date someone who doesn't enjoy it.
So you should probably just put it off and not ask about it.
Wait. There are people who don't like that movie?
There are people, my ex, and she's her ex for a reason, who don't like that movie.
Tom, I'm going to tell you something that I tell a lot of my friends whenever they have problems at work or, just in life. People are stupid.
Yeah, I often, when things happen at work, I often shake my head and go, humans.
Yeah.
100%.
We humans just have this innate ability to make poor decisions. Like not liking The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's a perfect movie in every single way.
Yeah.
And if you hate it, you are clearly a bad person.
Yeah. I don't understand it.
Is Simone joining us?
I don't know. I can't remember if she said I think she's going to try, but I'm not too sure. I think she's definitely coming to next week's one. But I'm not too sure if she's coming to this one.
Yeah, I saw her in the she's on Discord, but I wasn't sure if she was going to jump in. Okay, I don't know who else is joining us. We're an hour earlier this week, so I hope they don't get confused and show up at the end of the show and hey, we're here.
we're ready to record now, guys.
Yeah. I wanted to move it up for Ken because he always has to dip out right after the first hour, and so if we ever go a little bit long, which seems to happen more and more often, that then he just can't stick to the end. So I think we'll make 1 o'clock the new so 1 o'clock my time, because it's definitely not everybody's time. That'll be the new thing. Okay, cool. I'm gonna adjust some more settings and then we can get started unless anyone else pops in.
Beautiful.
I think you convinced Mr. Gomi Boy in chat to watch The Princess Bride.
Yes, Gomi Boy.
Do it, Gomi Boy. I mean, it's the film of not just our generation, of every generation.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story of love lost and love regained. I mean, what else is better?
And it's so damn funny. Like the jokes are just continuously amazing. They're just so ascorbic and sharp and witty and
Yeah, I think that one of my absolute favorite jokes is when they're in the boats and Inigo Montoya just looks back and he goes, I wonder if they're using the same wind as us. Because he just says it so quietly and they just move on from it so fast that you almost miss it.
Yeah.
But it's so funny.
Says he recently watched Dungeon Master and was dying from laughing.
Dungeon Master. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if I've seen Dungeon Master.
I don't think I've seen Dungeon Master, to be honest. That doesn't ring any bells.
Now, I will say I play Dungeons and Dragons a lot, so...
Oh shit! Are we allowed to swear on this? I should have just clarified that before.
Yeah, I'll just have to make it, mature when it goes live.
No, it's fine. I'll dial it back. That's cool. But yeah, love Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, big
Huge
into Dungeons and Dragons. I'm actually about to start DMing for the first time for a group of friends who have never played.
Oh, that's so exciting.
So I'm about to live my very own Dungeon Master movie.
That is so exciting. What is your favorite character that you have that you play?
So do you know about the Grung?
No.
So the Grung they're kind of a tabletop creation, but they have made it into Grung, Grung. They are a race of tree frogs. And the cool thing about them is they have like a natural poison that coats them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So anytime you hit somebody, they have to make a DC 12 Constitution save. Otherwise, they're poisoned for a minute. And if you coat like a dart with poison, then they take an extra 2d4 damage if they don't make the save. And so clearly, if every time you touch somebody, you can poison them, I made a monk. But since they're tree frogs, they also have a climb speed. So I literally go up and I do flurry of blows, and I chose the drunken brewmaster monk. So I go up and I do flurry of blows, and I get a free disengage by doing that. So I run up, I'm like 2'9", and I slap him a bunch of times, and then I get a free disengage. I run away and I like climb up on top of a cage or a wall or something, and I just sit there and I watch him. And then my next turn, I jump on top of him from the cage and I grapple him, and it's so much fun.
That's hilarious. That's so good.
But the best part about it is, as far as role playing goes, is that when you scroll down their stat page, at the very bottom it says languages, and it says that they can speak, read, and write Grung. And that's it. They don't speak common. They don't speak anything. Okay. So my teammates are like, all right, guys, we're gonna go over here and do this, and we're gonna take on this guy first, and we're gonna go into this room. And they're like, all right, is everybody ready? And I just look at them, and I'm like, I have no idea what you guys are saying right now, so I'll just go along with it.
So I'm just gonna watch. I'm just gonna use context clues.
It makes so a lot of really fun role playing. So he's been my favorite to play so far.
That's so good. That's really, really good.
Yeah. What do you enjoy playing?
My favorite was I made up this character who was called Trenzalore PhD, and he was a dwarf wizard who had a PhD in one of my other characters. But the joke was, so he's got a doctorate in history of one of my other characters, but the joke was that he would always roll for like persuasion checks and then just go, "Trust me, I'm a doctor." And the rest of the party was like, "You're not even a doctor in anything relevant. You're just a doctor in yourself." But I think one of my favorite games was we created an STD or an STI called goblonorrhea.
Of course you did.
So yeah, so it's just like a D8 Constitution check, and if you fail, you get a -2 for every day, -2 charisma for every day that you have it, and you have to go to an apothecary to get it fixed.
Oh, I love that.
Oh man.
So Gami Boy, I don't know if you've ever played Magic the Gathering, but I made a Magic the Gathering deck that was absolutely obsessed with squirrels. It was a commander deck, if any of you guys have played Magic. But
it's been a long time, but yeah.
Yeah, squirrels are the absolute best. See, I had a feeling the Gami Boy played Magic. I love it. See, this guy's into Commander. I love it.
It sounds like we need to do a Dungeons and Dragons podcast too, and just grab a bunch of hosts and have like a weekly game.
That would be amazing.
A-okay with that. Although, as of now, I'm in 2 separate campaigns. And my wife, who's a nurse, was like, I don't know when you're going to hang out with me because you're doing the podcast stuff. You're doing 2 D&D sessions. Like, you work, a decent amount every week.
You
need to hold off and actually spend time with me.
Yeah, it's a struggle, man. Like I do a bunch of shows. I run the network. I've got a regular job, a wife, kids. You know, like it's man. But there's, I always feel like, oh, I should be doing more. You know, I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah, no, I know how you guys feel. I mean, luckily, my girlfriend, she does social media for another podcast, so she sort of knows the sort of trifles and pains that come with recording podcasts and having to do all this type of stuff. So she's very cool with me and taking, you know, like large swaths of my time out from not hanging out with her. So she's very cool about it, which is lovely.
Yeah, that's super helpful. How do you and Simone do it, being, you know, down in South Africa and the UK?
Luckily, it's only an hour difference. So we always record on a Sunday, and we always record sort of 4 o'clock my time, 5 o'clock her time. And we do about an hour and a half. And we've just sort of made that our standard time. If we have to change to like the middle of the week, it can cause issues. But, you know, it's also just sort of whenever we can find the time and have like an hour and a half that we can do it. But yeah, it's lucky that it's only an hour.
Yeah, that's huge when you're trying to record from a different time zone. 1 hour is not that bad.
No.
So I think we'll go ahead and get started. Some other people might pop in at some point, so we'll just welcome them when they arrive. But we'll do an official start. I mean, some of the conversation has been so much fun. I think I might include some of it in the episode anyway.
Yeah.
Hey,
right.
Kef, thanks for the sub, dude. Kefalos just sub for Twitch Prime. It's good to see you, man.
Keffy 5 coming in the house.
Keffy 5. Keffy 5's one of the old school friends from years ago when I was doing more streaming. Yeah. Welcome, buddy.
Did you stream games back in the day?
Yeah, well, I still stream games on occasion. I'm just not on a regular schedule, as that's very difficult to maintain with all the other things that I do.
I believe it.
Eklar. Oh, hey, you followed. Thanks. Balance work, streaming, relationships, family is definitely a struggle. Yes, Wandering Wastelander. That is true. Any of you guys who chat in the channel right now, get those little guys walking around on the screen. And if you look down below the player, you can actually select what they look like. There's a bunch of Pokemon and all sorts of other stuff. And if you haven't chatted yet, they don't pop up. They only pop up when people chat because otherwise you're stealthy and then nobody shows up. So, all right.
I'm really great at stealth.
What was that?
I'm really great at stealth. Super stealthy.
Super stealthy. I just lurk in all the channels at the same time. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to do a little intro and introduce you guys, and then we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right, so let's let me clear my voice. Here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Robots Roundtable. I'm your host, Robots, or Tom. And with me this week, we have our brand newest member of the Robots Radio Network from the Film and Whiskey podcast. We have Brad. Brad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, man. It's great to be with you guys.
Yeah, dude. We've been talking it's been like weeks now, and we've been ramping up for you launching on the network, and it's starting to get to that point. So it's fun to have you on the Robots Roundtable and get to chat with me and one of our other hosts.
Yeah, our other host who just dropped out.
Who just dropped out. So we'll give him a minute. Maybe he'll pop back in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's great to be here. I think Bob started talking to you probably like a month and a half ago, my co-host, and we've just both of us have had crazy busy summers, and we're just super excited to kind of get the ball rolling with all this. Yeah.
And you guys you've been doing a lot on your show lately. Why don't you give our audience a little, elevator pitch about what your show's about and what you've been doing?
Yeah. So the Film and Whiskey podcast, our, tagline is that we review a classic movie and a glass of whiskey. We put new episodes up every Monday. They release Sunday at midnight. And so, yeah, we just talk about really good movies and we drink whiskey while we're doing it. Like literally. So Bob and I have been friends since, I don't even know, freshman year of college. And Bob has always been pretty much a cinephile. He grew up watching all sorts of movies and everything. I kind of grew up similarly. My dad loves old, John Huston, just older Westerns, stuff like that. He's a huge John Wayne fan. And so I grew up watching stuff like that with him. And Bob and I just met and we started watching movies together. And here we are like 10 years later and we're running our podcast. And I guess the other half of the equation is whiskey.
Right.
So we both went. So we both went to school in Kentucky. And if you know anything about Kentucky, you know that they are really, really proud of their bourbon.
Wait. You're saying they have bourbon in Kentucky?
Only a little bit. Yeah, they're just a little bit proud of themselves for that. So we lived in Kentucky for like 3 years, and we did some tours, and we drank a lot of bourbon together, and eventually Bob had been thinking about doing a podcast for a long, long time, and he kind of thought about doing some sports stuff, because we're crazy Cleveland sports fans, which is its own. I could talk to you for probably 3 or 4 hours on the travesties of being a Cleveland sports fan.
The travesties, huh?
Yeah. So long story short, we eventually realized we're like, man, we love watching movies, and what's better than watching a great movie than having a few glasses of whiskey while you're doing it?
Yeah, sure.
So
that's true.
We figured we'd put it out there, and it's been fascinating to see how cool of a response we've gotten, especially from the whiskey community. It feels like there's lots of movie podcasts out there, but the whiskey community has really like grabbed a hold of this idea of film and whiskey, and it's been really encouraging.
Nice. Well,
that's
cool.
Really
We're going to
cool.
dive into this a little bit more, but I want to introduce the other host who is now back in the channel. Chad from Fresh Tomatoes, our other movie podcast currently on the Robots Radio Network. Hey, Chad, welcome back.
Hello. Yes, no, I don't know what happened there. My internet's decided to be a bit funny today. It kind of owns me. I don't own it. So it's always fun when it just decides, hey, I'm not going to play games.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you can't bargain with your internet. It just kind of does what it's going to do.
Yeah.
So welcome back to the show. Can you remind everybody what your show's about and in case they haven't tuned into it yet?
Yeah, of course. So basically every week, me and my colleague, best friend, Simone, whatever you want to call her, we take 2 movies that didn't do well critically. We check their Fresh Tomatoes, their Rotten Tomatoes score. And if it's under 50%, we review it and we try and find nice things to say about it. I think, with the fact that the world is on fire right now with everything being so terrible, it's really nice to just have this optimistic podcast that takes things that are, universally deemed rubbish and say really nice things about them.
Yeah. And you guys have a lot of fun while you're doing this, and you do these things where you try to figure out what you would fix in order to make the movie better and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we have like different segments like that. So try and find scenes that could have saved it. So, what would we change to make it better? We ask ourselves, the big question, which is, would you watch this again and under what circumstances? Mm-hmm. So like we did a movie the other day called Fighting. It's 2009 with Channing Tatum. And we said that the only time that you would ever watch this movie again is with Channing Tatum to ask him why the heck he made this film in the first place. That's a good question.
I absolutely love that. There are certain movies that you'll see like huge stars be in, and you watch it and you're just like, what the heck ever convinced you to, like, you don't need the money. You're like Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, you don't need any money, but you did this stupid movie. Like, what are you doing?
You're so right. And like, that's how I feel about Cats coming out in a couple months. It's got people like Dame Judi Dench and Sir Ian McKellen, and I'm like, why, you guys? No, what? No.
Yeah, stop making stupid decisions.
So this week we are in celebration of the Film and Whiskey show joining the network. We're going to be talking favorite movies and favorite whiskeys. So, and we got a bunch of responses on the Discord channel from a bunch of different people who tune in regularly there and chat. So I'm going to be going over some of those as well. But why don't we start with Brad, since you're the new guy, Brad? I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts about movies and whiskey because you think about it regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Let us know what your favorites are.
So literally, I was talking to Tom and I suggested the topic of favorite movie and favorite whiskey because it seems obvious. And I realized after I said that, I was like, I don't even know what I would answer for those two questions.
Yeah, it's tough.
Because there's so many great movies out there. And I'm like, well, and talk about great movies out there. There's so many great whiskeys out there. So I started to try to narrow it down. Like, I was like, okay, well, I could probably talk about my favorite rye or my favorite scotch or my favorite bourbon and so on and so forth. But like, there's even within that, I'm like, how do you choose a favorite rye? There's so many great ryes out there. And how do you choose a favorite bourbon? So, all that being said, I'm just going to start throwing out some movies that are my favorite movies of all time because I can't always pick. Sure. So, that being said, some of my favorite movies would be Vertigo, Pulp Fiction, 12 Angry Men, Gladiator, Braveheart, Catch Me If You Can, Charade was a phenomenal movie. Have you guys ever heard of Charade?
I don't think I know Charade.
No, I've never heard of Charade.
Okay, so that's an older. That's Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. Back in like 52 to 55, and there's a few other, like, I think James Coburn was in it. So some other big name actors back then. That's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Just absolutely phenomenal. It got remade with Thandie Newton and. Oh, not Matt Damon. It got remade in like 2003 or 4, and that was pretty good. But yeah, Charade is really good. So yeah, those are some of my favorite movies. I literally just could not keep it down to one.
Yeah. So what makes a movie like what does it have to do in order to meet that criteria of one of your favorites? I feel like there's probably commonality between many of those, but
yeah. So I think one of the things that makes a movie great for me is when you have actors who are extremely sincere in their role. Mm-hmm. There's something about certain actors just have this ability to come across more sincerely than other actors. And the one that I'm thinking of right now, actually the two that I'm thinking of right now are Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like when you think about them in their movies, and we just recorded an episode on Catch Me If You Can, so that's why they're fresh in my brain. But like, if you think about them in their movies, they are so absolutely perfect at their roles because they embrace who they are. They embrace the character with all of its flaws, with all of its strengths, and they present it to you in such a fashion that you just believe that they are who they are.
Yeah, and it's almost like they themselves are transparent. They disappear and then the character emerges and it's a different person. Even though it looks like them, it's a different person.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's the thing that blows my mind with them is like a lot of times when you think about Tom Hanks, it's almost hard to get past the fact that he's Tom Hanks and, recognize that he is, these characters in the movies. But the more I watch him, the more I realize that the first 10 minutes of the movie, I'm like, it's Tom Hanks. I know who Tom Hanks is. Within 10 minutes, that's gone. And I'm fully invested in who he is as a character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing that really helps movies transcend for me is when you have actors that are extremely sincere in their roles. The other part of it, honestly, for me is music. When you have the right musical director for a movie that knows how to draw you in and the perfect sound direction, like when you think about the best movies you've ever seen, like the emotional moments or the fearful moments or the triumphant moments, like they're guided by music, and the music draws you in to what you need to hear, what you need to feel, or what you need to not feel. Like it's just amazing what a good music director can do for a movie.
Speaking of,
you're so right.
Pulp Fiction, I really enjoy when movies juxtapose music that sounds opposite of what the mood of the scene is.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my favorite things when you've got like a love ballad playing while a bunch of people are murdered, or That kind of stuff.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino does that so well as well. I think he's really good at creating jarring scenes like that and being able to sort of see the complete contrast between those two things.
Yes, I love that.
You know, it's the same way as with, you know, he uses black and white versus pastel colors so well. I mean, if you look at scenes from like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction itself, you know, it's these really sharp, crisp black and white suits against these sort of very 80s, very 90s pastel colors, these you know, horrible drawn out, washed out yellows and greens and reds, and that sort of brings that contrast of focus to your attention without you even realizing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Tarantino just does a phenomenal job with camera placement, and he does a phenomenal job with coloring, like you said. And the way he shoots his scenes, like I'm thinking in Pulp Fiction of when Bruce Willis is going back to the apartment to get the watch, and he parks the car and he gets out and he walks towards an apartment building, and you're thinking to yourself, like, why the heck is he parking right next to it? Like, the mob's clearly going to be there to kill him. And then you see the camera shot just follow him through, and you see all the muted greens of the dying grass and the silver of the chain link fence that he climbs through to get to the, you know, blasé brown building. And then he gets in there, and you see John Travolta, you know, come out of the bathroom, and like you said, he's in that sharp black and white suit. And then you just contrast that with, you know, shooting him and the blood everywhere, and it just he does such amazing things with his camera work and with his coloring. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Now I need to go back and watch that.
He is amazing. Yeah. But like going back to what you said about sort of sound design and things like that, it's, you know, you've got a good sound director as well when they use silence appropriately. You know, there's such an importance in choosing whether your scene is going to be silent or whether there is going to be music. And it's finding that balance, which I think is so important in a film as well, to make it sort of a good film or a bad film.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up silence, because you have to think about the master of silence, Alfred Hitchcock. Because that man introduced the idea of using silence to induce fear in the human soul. And he does it so daggone well.
You're so right.
Man, I wonder if there's some sort of psychology behind why that made sense to him to start incorporating in films.
Yeah, and like
everybody always has some sort of story, you know?
Yeah, and like, why was Hitchcock the first person to understand that is how you create suspense, is that you put these things in front of the audience, and the audience might know things that the characters in the movie don't, and then you drop silence on them at just the right part, and all of a sudden your stomach just like hits the floor, and you're like, and honestly, I think the reason silence is so effective is because music in movies tells you what you should feel.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's gone. It's like the hand that was holding you, like you're like a little 4-year-old kid walking down the street, and all of a sudden the hand that's holding your hand is gone, and you don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. And you just get nervous and you get scared, and you start sweating a little bit. And you're like, I don't know what's going to happen next, but nobody's here to help me or tell me how to feel.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's so true, because like in your normal life, there's never silence. There's always like a bird cheeping or something happening, even like the whir of a computer or a fridge. Like there's always sound. So when you're in that disconcerting, like very, very soundproof room of a movie theater, or even at home, you know, and then you just drop that absolute dead sound, like you don't know what to do because it's so unnatural.
Yep.
Yeah, the same thing happens when you walk into like a recording booth that's really well soundproofed. Because experience that. I mean, we all record audio, but we each have different setups at home. But at work, I work at a marketing firm, and we created a podcast room where we basically silenced the room, put a bunch of foam in on the corners and stuff. And it's got this uncanny feeling when you walk in that room, and all of a sudden there's like the sound is just dead around you. And even your own voice doesn't actually travel. It just kind of drops.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And the sound designer in you and the podcast in you is like, oh, this is the greatest thing in the world.
Right.
Like there's nothing better than going into a room and hearing zero echo. You're just like, oh, I am about to sound so sexy right now.
Yeah.
But then you sit in it for a minute and you're like, I feel like I should hear something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels
why
weird.
why don't I hear anything?
So let's move on. Chad, why don't we go over some of your favorites? Maybe you actually have some in common with Brad. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, the ones I had a very emotional response when he said 12 Angry Men.
Mm-hmm.
For everyone, I doubt you guys know sort of, if anyone knows my background, but I have a law degree, and so law is kind of a huge part of my life in like the legal field, and sort of seeing that movie and how not easy, but sort of how influenced people are just by convincing arguments and sort of that logical progression you make when you're presented with true facts. Well, true facts, that's a redundancy, but when you're presented with the facts of something versus your inherent biases, like that movie just really spoke to me emotionally. And it's such a great movie, just from start to finish. There's nothing sort of arbitrary or excessive about it. It's just clean cut and just beautiful to watch.
Now, I took a film class in college, and I got to watch the movie, but I have a feeling a lot of people probably haven't seen it. It's most of the film, if I recall, is basically 12 jurors debating what to do in this trial.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Like it's this I think it's a Puerto Rican kid who's been like accused of murder, and everyone's like, well, 11 of the jurors are like, yeah, he did it, no question about it, he's definitely guilty. And just the one juror is like, no, he definitely didn't do it. And then they deliberate for ages, and the one guy just convinces, basically tries to convince everyone else that he didn't do it. And yeah, it's just amazing to watch. Just, it's a movie that is talking, and that's it, and it's incredible.
Yeah, and it's in black and white, right? It was filmed in what, the 40s or 50s?
Yeah.
I think it was 1958, but I think they chose to do it in black and white.
Right.
Yeah, and it just works really well. But I mean, contrast that with the movie that I said in the Discord chat, which was Donnie Darko, which is just sort of everywhere and all over the place and not a tight story at all. But it's just, like you said, it's the music that really does it. It's the creepy story. It's the sounds. It's Jake Gyllenhaal, who, I mean, I just love Jake Gyllenhaal in everything that he's in. I've never seen a bad Jake Gyllenhaal movie. And yeah, it's just, I love Donnie Darko so much just because it's creepy. It sounds great. The acting is phenomenal. I think Jake Gyllenhaal does an amazing job. I think Drew Barrymore does an amazing job. I think, what's his name? Dirty Dancing.
Oh yeah, Dirty Dancing. Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze. Yeah. I think Patrick Swayze does an amazing job. Yeah, I can't get enough of Donnie Darko. And then if you watch the director's cut as well, it just explains the story and expands it in such a really great way.
So I'm not gonna lie, I've never actually seen Donnie Darko. That's not in my wheelhouse.
What?
Yeah. So if you listen to the podcast it happened more in the earlier episodes, but I feel like every other movie I'd be like, I've never seen this movie before, Bob, and Bob would make fun of me for being like a peasant.
Well, it's a good thing you're doing a movie podcast because it helps you catch up on everything then.
Honestly, It has been like over the last 7 or 8 months, I have watched so many movies for this podcast, and it's made me appreciate movies more than I ever thought that I could. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I started my shows, was because I wanted to dig more into like the Fallout and the Elder Scrolls lore from the games. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be doing the research, then I might as well be reporting what I'm finding and turn it into a show.
Yeah.
So,
well, and not only that, but like it helps you to know the content better when you're presenting it to other people.
Right. And when I get things wrong, people definitely chime in and they're like, actually, this thing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks.
That's really nice as well.
I didn't get as far into it as I thought I did. Yeah.
The internet is busy correcting somebody? What?
I mean, that never happens. That's not what the internet is for.
Well, I make it very obvious on the show. I'm like, listen, I am not the expert at this. If you know more about this than I do, this is what I found. This is what I remember from playing. But if you know more, definitely let me know. Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, yeah, Simone and I never pose ourselves as experts. Like, I think we're experts in being optimists, but we are very, very novice in terms of movies. But I like what you said there, Brad, about sort of how this sort of opened you up to watching more movies and sort of appreciating films more. And I think that's a really nice sort of contrast between our two podcasts, because obviously Simone and I just watch bad movies every week. And so in that respect, we appreciate when a good movie comes out and it has a very tight story that's good and well written and there's actual character development, versus the absolute rubbish that we watch every week.
Yeah, well, actually, one of the movies that Bob and I bonded over, we drank extremely cheap whiskey and we watched The Room, which is like the pinnacle of the trash movie genre.
It is the benchmark of trash movies.
It really is
so funny.
Yeah, so that was something.
Remind me, what was The Room about?
There we go. My internet's gone again.
What wasn't The Room about?
Oh,
Mr. Gummy Boy. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, in chat.
So the Room was written and acted in and directed by this guy named Tommy Wiseau.
Oh,
who
yeah.
might be the strangest human being ever to live. And like, I've met a lot of strange human beings in my life, but I'm pretty confident that not many human beings are weirder than Tommy Wiseau. But the movie, I mean, the plot of the movie, it's as if someone explained what a movie was to an alien, and then that alien made a movie. Honestly, that's the perfect description of The Room.
Oh, man.
Because he like, you can see that he's trying to do things well, but he doesn't have a full grasp on what makes a good movie. So like the plot of the movie is that there's this guy, I'm blanking. It's been so long since I saw it. The main character is played by Tommy Wiseau, and he is a good guy. And he tells people that he's a good guy, and he's dating this girl, and this girl is terrible to him, and she ends up cheating on the main character with his best friend Mark. And like, I can't even explain how bad it is. There's this one scene where he walks into a flower shop, and he walks into the flower shop, and he goes up to the counter, and the person at the counter goes, "Oh, hi, Tommy. I didn't know that was you." He goes, "Oh, hi. I would like my roses now." And she goes, "Here's the roses." And he goes, "Here's $20. Oh, hi, doggy." And he pets a dog on a counter, and he walks away. And like, that's the entire scene. And like, he never really does anything with the flowers. He never it's so bad.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. And there's this wonderful scene where she is accusing him of hitting her. The girlfriend is accusing the main character of hitting her. And he just like shows up on the roof of his building,
Mikey,
his
come
apartment
here.
building. And he just opens the door and he goes, "I did not hit her. I did not hit her. I did
Mikey,
not.
come here.
Oh, hi, Mark."
Oh, hi, Mark. Sorry, I dropped out again, but I'm back.
Oh, hi, Chad.
And it kind of worked out perfectly. Oh, hi. Oh, hi, Brad.
Oh,
Stop
hi.
ganging up on me.
Oh, hi,
That
Chad.
movie makes me so happy. I mean,
Yeah,
that
I know
whole
what I'm doing
subplot of the drugs.
this afternoon now.
Oh, yeah, sit down and watch it. It's super awkward and super bad and absolutely perfect in every way, shape, and form.
What really gets me and what makes me laugh every time is it cost $8 million to make.
Yes.
And it grossed just over $1,500.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I always wonder, I'm like, he has to be making some money because it's a cult classic. Like it's kind of like, you know how you're in a random town and you'll see like a tiny theater showing Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like that. Like, you know, little tiny community theaters still play The Room all over the country. And like people will like take spoons and throw spoons at the screen whenever.
Yes.
So like one of the weird things about the set design was that anytime they're in the apartment or in some sort of like living space, there are like picture frames in the background because, you know, you'd have pictures, but there's not pictures of like Tommy and his girlfriend. They're pictures of like silverware. and you're just kind of like, wait a second, why? Like, who chose to get all these weird pictures of silverware and put them onto the set?
It's outrageous. Like, just that artistic choice alone it's just a bonkers movie. And like, my girlfriend and I, when we watched it, we came up with a theory that he is actually an alien. The Mr. Rousseau who made the film and wrote the film, he's an alien, and he's like, whatever planet he's from, he's the best story writer on that planet, and he was sent across the galaxy to go and expose the rest of the world to his amazing and genius writing. And he unfortunately landed on Earth, and we just don't get it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the IMDb description. Johnny is a successful banker who lives happily in a San Francisco townhouse with his fiancée, Lisa. One day, inexplicably, she gets bored with him and decides to seduce his best friend, Mark. From there, nothing will be the same again.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen The Room, go watch it. Make sure that you're drinking. Because it's bad. Watch it with some friends. I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Sometimes we watch movies or just hang out at work, like during lunch, and put something up on like the TV in the main meeting room. This might be one I have to suggest to everybody.
So I will say, NSFW warning, there are there are some really awkward sex scenes in the movie. When I say really awkward, I mean it's so awkward that the actress who the girlfriend who performed them, she didn't really know that she was getting into it, and they filmed the first scene, and she was like, I'm not doing that again. And Tommy Wiseau was like, oh, well, there's another scene that we have to do, and she refused to do it. So he just reused film from the first one for the second scene in the movie.
My God. Don't you have to like contractually like clear that with actors or actresses? Like, isn't that a thing?
Yeah. Nobody's ever, taken advantage of a woman sexually before. It just doesn't happen, especially in Hollywood. How could that happen?
Oh man,
that's not a thing that happens, right?
Sorry, I'm not, trying to be super depressing.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head and saying humans again. Humans.
Yeah, exactly. Humans are the worst.
Humans. So Chad, what would you consider one of your favorite movies? Or we kind of rabbit trailed. Is this on your list of like top films?
I don't know. I think I would never willingly watch The Room again unless it's with someone who hasn't seen The Room, just to see their joy and frustration and confusion on their face as they watch this.
Yeah, it's like when you come across a terrible picture on the internet and you have to share it on your friend's social feed and just be like,
yeah, exactly.
Hey, look at this.
Yeah, exactly. It's like seeing a French bulldog, and you look at it and it's so that you just have to love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge fan of French bulldogs. Like, I'm gonna get one as soon as I've got like an apartment that we're allowed to have dogs in. But they're just like, it's just wrong. It's looking at a car crash. I mean, that's the whole reason. I don't know if you guys are NASCAR fans, but I feel like that's the reason people watch NASCAR. They don't watch it for the racing. They watch it for the crashes. And I feel that's what The Room is.
So as somebody who has a lot of friends and a father-in-law who loves NASCAR, I can tell you definitively that the crashes are actually one of the lesser reasons. The primary number one reason NASCAR is a big thing is the fact that you're allowed to bring your own liquor into the stadium to watch the events.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I mean, it is just a bunch of hillbillies getting sloshed on cheap beer and cheap whiskey, and they love it. They love every second of it.
Oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious.
But the crashes are pretty great too. I don't know, Tom. You're from Florida. They have Talladega down there. Are you a NASCAR person?
No, I'm not. Funny thing. We actually went out to last night. My wife and my son and I, to celebrate my wife's best friend's birthday, and so we went to a restaurant, and up on the screen next to our table they had NASCAR. And my son's like 9, and today he's going to a birthday party where he gets to ride go-karts. So he's
that's exciting.
Yeah, he's kind of got this like race car thing going in his head. And he's a smart kid. So I asked him like, well, what do you think the strategy here is? You know, because they're all just going in circles, and I started talking about like conserving fuel and wind resistance and, you know, like these kinds of things. But that is clearly not the main reason most people watch NASCAR.
Nope. You're going to have a panhandle son here real soon.
Yeah, I'm not up in the panhandle. My brother's family is. And,
there you go.
That's a whole nother story. Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on. So let's keep this moving, because Chad, did you have any other favorite films that you wanted to note?
Yeah, I mean, it's from our conversation from earlier, and I think the genre that I'm about to mention is so sort of indicative of what's going to come out in the future in terms of, you know, mainstream films. But I'm a massive horror fan, so I'd say, you know, The Conjuring is one of my favorite films of all time. A, because it's shot really beautifully, and B, because it's just, you know, it's the acting is so intense and amazing, and it really just spawned a whole sort of genre and universe of movies that have come out. And yeah, I mean, The Shining in itself as a sort of classic horror, and we mentioned Vertigo and Hitchcock films in general. And I just, you know, I wrote an article on this a long time ago about how how horror films sort of define what's going to happen in the future in terms of the genre and how we're going to be viewing movies, and they're really ahead of the game because the market is so oversaturated with horror films that they have to come out with something novel in order to be noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up horror films, because that is my one huge blind spot in movies. Like other than Hitchcock, and like I can get into suspense thriller type horrors.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking of like Shutter Island would be a more modern example.
Yeah.
Things like that I can get into, but like more pure horror films, like from what I've heard, The Conjuring. What's the famous one with the little girl?
Is it The Grudge?
Maybe The Grudge. It's the one they make fun of in
The Ring.
Movie
Sorry,
The Ring.
The Ring.
Yeah, the Ring, like stuff like that. Man, I've never had any desire in my soul to sit down and watch those movies. I don't know what it is, but they just mess with me.
Yeah, I don't know when I started enjoying horror films, but as I've grown older and sort of appreciated films a bit more and sort of for their artistic value, I've just really noticed that a lot of horror films have to develop something, like I said, novel to make them amazing. I mean, if you think about it, there's this film called Hush, and it's up on Netflix. And it's basically, the protagonist is a deaf woman. So the whole film is basically silent. And it's to create suspense and horror with silence is really, really impressive to me. You know, The Conjuring as well, the use of sort of heavy minor notes and bass and then silence to create suspension. And it's not just like things like jump scares, because anyone can do a jump scare, but it's building that tension for a slow reveal, which I just find really amazing.
Yeah. Hey, so we have a guest popping in here. Sebastian just jumped in from Hidden Pixels.
Hey guys.
Oh, what's up, gangster?
Hey.
I literally just dropped all my bags in the hotel room down here in DC and fired up the computer so I could join you guys. So
welcome. We've been chatting favorite movies. We're talking all sorts of stuff. And we just started talking about horror films. But Sebastian, I didn't get to introduce you at the beginning. You're from the Hidden Pixels podcast and have been a member of the network for a while, and are fairly regular on here as well. And what would you say is your favorite movie, if you absolutely had to choose a favorite?
So my favorite movie goes along with like my favorite actor of all time, and I have a theory that goes along with this. I was thinking a lot this week about this topic. It's Con Air. Con Air is the perfect movie.
Oh,
wow!
So it goes along with my theory that Nick Cage has never made a bad movie, ever.
Oh, I'm invested. You had my attention, sir.
So it starts with Con Air. Con Air is fantastic. I mean, it's everything you want in an action popcorn movie. It is nonstop from beginning to end. I mean, anytime you can land a plane on the Vegas Strip, you do it and you put it in the movie. So it is perfect. And then you have it's all bangers. It's Face Off. I just learned he was in The Croods. Me and my wife were watching it the other night. It's a great animated film. He's in Kick-Ass. He's in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse, yeah.
Yeah, he was amazing in that.
So, I mean, I have to say Con Air, my favorite movie, just because of my favorite actor of all time, Nick Cage, and that is his crowning achievement.
Man, Nicolas Cage kills me because he's such a good actor, but I feel like he just literally takes any role that he's offered. Like, I feel like anybody could pitch him on a movie, and he's like, yeah, I'll do that. Let's do it.
All right.
He's like, yeah. And he's full in every time. No matter what, he's giving everything he has.
Yeah, and you know what? I said this earlier. Tom asked me what makes a great movie great for me. And literally the first thing I said was, when an actor is like brings a sincerity to his or her role, like that sells me on a movie before anything else. And I would have to agree with you. As much as I disagree with you that all of Nick Cage's movies are good, I would say that he is extremely sincere in every single movie he's in.
True. Yeah. We can agree to disagree, but at least we can all agree that he's giving it his all.
He's the only man. He's the only man to win a staring contest with the Void. Like that dude.
Staring contest with the Void.
That dude is a enigma wrapped in a mystery, and I love him because he like you said, he is the most sincere guy, but as well, like you said, he's unable to turn down a movie. Like there's that one where he's a vampire, and I think it's called Vampire's Kiss, and we covered it on our podcast. We did a Nicolas Cage week. We were going to do a Nicolas Cage month, but then we realized it was too draining on our souls, so we changed it to a week. Because that guy, I mean, if you've ever watched Vampire's Kiss, just wow.
I mean, according to Sebastian, it's a great movie because, Nick Cage can't be in a bad movie, so.
It is. Have you heard, so you did an interview with GQ. They're doing this interview series with all famous actors, and Nick Cage is one of them, and he goes through most of his movies, and like what his thought process was behind them. And he does Vampire's Kiss, and he was citing Nosferatu. He was citing all these influences onto his performance for that movie. And it was just like fascinating to see how much thought actually went into it.
That is amazing. No, he's and I mean the national treasures as well. I mean, he is a national treasure.
Yeah,
like
that he is.
He is a national enigma as well as a treasure. Yeah.
There's that episode of Community. I don't know if you guys watched Community when it was out.
Yes. Where
Albert tries to decide if he's a good actor or a bad actor, and there's just that whole scene where he just channels Nicolas Cage, and it's so funny because he just like breaks out and he's just like, I'm a sexy cat, and it's so good.
Yeah, that episode of Community, I almost died laughing. Like that's probably up there. And then my favorite episode is the different alternate universes.
Yes.
Hands down one of the greatest shows of television ever created.
Yeah, definitely.
I missed that one. I need to go back and get it. There's just too much good TV. I need to pick that one up.
That's a problem, yeah.
So I think Tom's been trying to get us here eventually, but let's talk about whiskey.
Let's talk about whiskey. Hey, actually, I want to drop a film because I didn't get to talk about my film. So.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Man. So I'm just skipping over the most important person here. I apologize.
Well, I'm not the most important person, but I thought I would drop a movie and then we can talk whiskey because I am not much of a connoisseur of foods or drinks, and I have a whole theory as to why that might be, but I would love some recommendations. It's not that I don't enjoy them, I just don't seem to enjoy things like that as much as most people, so I don't make a mental note of like what I've had before to go back to. I don't know. It's a whole thing. We could do a whole episode about Tom's brain and what's weird about that. And now the Echo is talking to me. Thank you, Alexa, for no reason. So, I had to think about it because I'm also not very good at picking favorites. But if I whittled it down and I get down to absolute favorite film, I would have to choose, or at least films, I would have to choose the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh man,
because yeah, it's so in order for I don't watch a lot of films. I've seen a good number of films and I know about a lot of films, but for me at this point in my life to like devote the time to sit in front of a TV or a theater screen and actually watch a movie, it has to be engaging on multiple levels. It has to be like well directed. It has to be actiony. I find that I'm often drawn to fanciful settings, things that aren't necessarily the real world. And The Lord of the Rings was obviously a favorite from my childhood. It was one of those books that my dad read them, and when I was in middle school, I read through all of them for the first time, and I was just hooked from there, on fantasy stuff. So the fact that they're not identical to the books, but I think that's good because you could never turn the actual things from the books into a film because it wouldn't work.
No, you're so right.
Yeah, but I think Peter Jackson did pretty much the best job anybody could with that IP, turning those into movies. So yeah.
For an impossible task, he did fantastic.
Yeah. So that's what I would drop
because it is a Herculean task, and he managed it. It's respectful to the books, and it's just beautiful, and the leitmotif of it all is just so beautiful. And you've chosen such a banger of a trilogy.
Well, yeah, and the action's good, and the actors that were chosen for the roles are very good for at least the way that those characters are portrayed in the film, which may be a little bit different than the books. In general, I feel like it's pretty solid across the board. It was one of those things when they started coming out that like even just from like a personal standpoint, we would every time they'd come out on DVD or whatever that Christmas or whenever, we'd go get it and I'd watch it with my dad, and we'd watch all the extended footage and stuff.
Oh, the extended footage is phenomenal as well.
Yeah.
Right,
go ahead.
I was going to say, as soon as you started talking about your favorite movies, I realized that I didn't bring up probably my two favorite like series of all time, which would be Star Wars and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there you go.
And so the cool thing about Lord of the Rings, Chad, I feel like you should know this, that Peter Jackson was pretty much a horror director before he did the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And so and once you know that, you watch the Lord of the Rings and you see it in throughout all three movies, you're like, oh yeah, he was the horror director that directed one of the greatest, epic trilogies of all time. Yeah.
I have to laugh at Mr. Gummy Boy's comment in the comment section about the Hobbit. That did give me a good giggle there. Because that's the thing. There is that one scene in I think it's the Two Towers that sort of gives everyone the hint that Peter Jackson is going a little bit off the rails, where Faramir has a dream sequence within a flashback sequence, or a flashback sequence within a dream sequence. Yeah. And you're just like, okay, well, I think we need to put Peter Jackson into a safe, cozy room and just leave him there and not give him the Hobbit films to poop on.
I'm pretty sure in the chat, somebody mentioned that the Hobbit trilogy was their favorite trilogy.
Yes. So we're going to get to that right after we discuss whiskey. So
oh, man.
I want to kind of list off some of the things at the end that some of the people in the Discord have noted. So let's move into whiskey, and maybe we can keep this section a little shorter because we're starting to run long. Let's go back through the list. We'll start with Brad. Brad, what number? I know you're saying you're having a hard time choosing these. Can you whittle it down to just a few top choices?
Yes, for sure. So there's obviously a bunch of different varieties of whiskey. You have your Scotch, you have your Irish whiskeys, you have your bourbons, you have your sour mash. A lot of times Tennessee does those types of whiskeys. Of all the different types of whiskeys, bourbon would probably be my favorite. Mm-hmm. And of the bourbons, I was privileged enough to try a bourbon from this place called Bardstown Bourbon Company. Highly recommend them. All of their bourbon is really good. It's on the higher price point. You're probably going to drop $50 to $100 depending on which bottle you buy. So like Bob and I pride ourselves on staying cheap because we are both.
Good. You're my type of people.
Yeah, we're both right out of grad school, and Bob has a kid, and my wife and I just bought a house. Like, we do not have tons of money. But if we're talking about the best bourbons we've ever had, I am going to dip into the most expensive bourbon I've probably ever had.
Yeah,
and it's called Pfeiffer Pavitt Reserve. And it's put out by Bardstown Bourbon Company. It's like $130 or $40 for a bottle, and you actually have to buy it like at their distillery.
Oh,
so
nice.
so I'm literally talking about a very unique bourbon. But we went down and we visited them, and we interviewed their CEO. We do a lot of interviews with CEOs of companies. And they are just the coolest. Like, they're like, I don't know what it is about whiskey people, but they are just so down to earth and fun to talk to. And we'll talk to them about their company and the whiskeys they're putting out, and then we'll talk about their favorite movie for a little bit, and it's a great time.
Yeah,
so
you've been doing a series of episodes about that stuff lately.
Yeah, we've interviewed probably 4 or 5 CEOs and like master distillers and stuff from Ohio. We did a trip down to Kentucky a month ago, and we interviewed Peerless Distilling, New Riff Distillery, Bardstown Bourbon Company. Like, we've been getting into it. It's been so much fun.
That's really cool.
So to wind all that up, Pfeiffer Pavitt Reserve, they took a 9-year-old bourbon, which is, for a bourbon, that's aged pretty long. I know scotches get into like 20, 30 years. For bourbon, 9 years is a long time. So they took this 9-year-old bourbon, and then they aged it an additional 18 months in a Cabernet Sauvignon wine barrel.
Oh, fancy.
And out came the nectar of the true gods. Guys, I have never tasted anything better than this Pfeiffer Pavitt Reserve. There's something about that deep, dry red wine barrel that brought out flavors in the bourbon that you'll never have anywhere else. And I know that some people might come at me and say, well, Brad, that's not a true whiskey. They tainted it with wine. And I say to you, sir, you can go shove it, because this is delicious. So that would probably be my absolute favorite whiskey, regardless of category.
Yeah, you need to when the show is done, if you will post that on your Twitter so we can all share it and remember.
Yes,
or in the Discord. I think we should keep a running log of like recommended stuff.
I agree. If we wanted to start a recommended, whiskey or just spirits in general, I'd be totally down. But to pop through a few of my favorite, more accessible things, if you're going to try a Scotch, Glenmorangie La Santa is really good. They put out, I think it's a 14-year Scotch, pretty affordable. With Scotch, it's always more expensive. So the La Santa will set you back $50 to $70. If you want to go with Irish whiskey, I'm going to go really, really cheap for you. Tullamore Dew is phenomenal. It's like,
I've never had that one.
Oh my gosh, it's like $18 for a fifth of Tullamore Dew, maybe 20. It's smooth. It has a nice, fresh, crisp, almost like citrusy bite to it. That's just it's so good. If you want to go with rye and you want to go with a really good rye that's not too expensive, go get Bullet Rye. Bullet spelled Bulleit. Bullet Rye is like $20 to $25. So one of my problems with rye is that the spices get overpowering and they sit on your palate for like an hour after you're done drinking it. And it just kind of sours on your palate, in my opinion. But Bullet Rye doesn't do that. It has just enough spice to like kick you in the. We've termed the throat. It punches you in the tongue. It's a good tongue puncher. But it doesn't sit on it for too long. It kind of dissipates after about 4 or 5 minutes. Bullet Rye is a phenomenal rye whiskey, and it's cheap. It's not that expensive.
Bullet's actually one of my go-tos for rye. And it's affordable, and the quality you're getting is just so good for that price point.
Yep, and that's I'll let you guys talk about your whiskeys now. But honestly, the biggest thing Bob and I talk about is what you just said, Sebastian. What's the value Like, can I spend $20 and get something that I would give to my richest and fanciest of friends? And Bullet Rye fits that bill perfectly.
Right.
Definitely.
Okay.
Nice. All right, let's move on. Chad, what do you think?
Yeah, like I mean, well, in terms of rye, like what you were saying is really interesting, and I'm definitely going to try Bullet because usually I get just like the worst heartburn from it, so I try to avoid that as much as possible. So in terms of whiskeys, I usually just stick to Scotch, especially being in the UK. It's we get a bit of a discount, not huge, but because a lot of it is produced here and up in Scotland and over in Ireland, we do get a decent little bit knocked off. So I said this on the Discord chat, but my favorite is definitely the Robert Burns 18-year-old Scotch. It's unbelievable. We went to the Isle of Arran where the distillery is, and we did a tasting, and we did like the 14-year and the 18-year and the 21-year and not the 21, the 25-year and everything. And genuinely the 18 just stood out for me as being like this really rich, almost you could taste red. Like if you could taste the color, it tasted red, and it was just like this really warm, lovely taste. And yeah, I just had to get a bottle. I mean, yeah, it wasn't cheap, and I was in debt for a little bit of time after that bottle, but it was so worth it. Yeah, just the 18, and then if you want to go a little bit cheaper, go for the 14-year, because both of those were just exceptional. And then I mean, you've also just got to travel. If you guys are ever in Scotland, go to the Isle of Arran because it's just beautiful.
Yeah, Chad, I was going to say what we need to do is a crossover live episode from Scotland in a distillery.
I'd be so up for that.
Can I come too? That sounds great.
Yeah. I'm inviting myself.
Hey man, once all of our podcasts have taken off and we're hitting 100,000 listeners per episode, and it's making us fantastic money, we'll all just vacation together in Scotland and drink a lot of scotch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mr. Gummy Boy wants to join us too. We can just have like a whole meetup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Do a Robots Radio live show up in Scotland.
Yeah. Big meetup, live episodes of each of the shows up on a stage, and then we could all hang out and get drinks afterwards.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
I will say, unfortunately, Scotland probably wouldn't be out of the question for a while. But if we wanted to meet up in Kentucky, for those of us in the US, that would actually be truly phenomenal. That's doable and phenomenal.
Yeah, and kind of central too, huh?
Yeah. For sure. So I'm curious, Sebastian, you seem like you enjoy some of the golden spirit.
The golden spirit.
I do.
The milk of human kindness.
It is fantastic. It is delicious. Yeah. The one that I picked, I've tried a few different kinds. Connoisseur at all. But the one that I keep going back to right now, especially I was living in New York City up until recently. It's I had to look up the actual distillery because I didn't know their name. It's Tuttletown, but they make this line called the Hudson whiskey, and their baby bourbon is some of the best bourbon I've ever had.
Really?
It is very clean, very like crisp. Like you some whiskeys I've had, I do not enjoy fully drinking that because it's just like it's almost painful to get through.
Yep.
But for this, it's just smooth. I tried their baby bourbon, which is my top choice. They also make a maple cask rye, which also has that like smoky like maple taste. If you like that, so that was
I do.
So it was. They have a few different kinds that are worth trying out. The price point's a little pricier than like a Bullet. It's more like the 40 to 50 range for a bottle, but
yeah,
worth it for, like I was saying, for the quality. We actually go for it.
I was gonna say, they're based out of New York?
They're based out of like the Hudson Valley, so just north of the city in New York. Okay. Yeah. They have a big distillery up there. And then for my wife's 30th birthday last year, actually, we rented a sailboat. We went all out. We rented a sailboat in the Hudson River, and the distillery did a tasting on the boat. They did a whiskey tasting, and like 6 or 7 different kinds, and got a tour of the river with Manhattan at night. It was like awesome. But
Sounds amazing.
I definitely partook in a few different kinds there.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. Bob and I, we're gonna have to try to get our hands on Hudson. I'm looking it up right now. It looks really good, especially that maple cask rye.
Yeah, the color, it looks appetizing. It's like that deep red. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the Pfeiffer Pavitt I was talking about earlier. It has such a deep golden brown, and like you said, it's almost reddish from that red wine. I've never seen something more beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Than that deep color.
Yeah. It just like it makes your mouth water a little bit because you can like almost taste it just by looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've now got a list of things I have to go try out. So, thanks.
There goes all
yours, Tom.
Yeah, all right, let's go through some of the ones in the Discord that people wrote in. We have
I thought
Cryptex.
we should do yours first because we haven't done yours, Tom.
Yeah, I don't have a favorite. I can't tell you which would be my favorite. So, I mean, I've tried a variety of them, but I can't tell you which ones tasted like what. You know, even if you ask me about beer or something, I'm like, I don't know, just a beer.
Yeah.
I need to work on that skill.
That's funny.
See, I don't know if you gentlemen sort of feel the same way, but I think half of the taste of whatever you're drinking, whether it's water, beer, rosé, if you must, or whiskey, it's about who you're with as well and the experience you have while you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, that's something that Bob and I have talked with a lot of these CEOs about, and all of them just say, man, in the end, we are about creating good memories with family, with friends, and with a good glass of whiskey or some sort of spirit, and like that is really what it comes down to. Like drinking by yourself is a sad thing for a reason. Like, like you should be doing it with your friends.
Wrong. Note to self: get some friends. Okay, thanks, guys.
Oh man, well, yeah. Let's get to some of these the lists because I was very curious about some of them.
Yeah. So we'll try to go through them pretty quickly. Cryptex writes in and says his favorite whiskey is BVR. I don't know BVR. Are you guys familiar with that?
I'm not gonna lie. I am not. I'm not sure.
Oh.
We'll have to look that one up. Favorite cocktail is X23. Promotional drink for
Wait,
Logan.
1 second. I just googled BVR. New whiskey flavored with beaver secretions launched.
I just found that.
Oh man,
beaver butt whiskey. What is happening?
What? Oh man, I'm gonna have to ask him about this. He's one of my tier 4 patrons, which means he joins me at the end of the month for a chat for the Fallout Warcast. I'm gonna have to bring this up and be like, listen, is that legit, or are you just trolling us?
No, it says a yellowish secretion of the castor sac located under the beaver's tail. Castoreum can form part of a substitute for vanilla flavor.
Wow. Wow. All right. Then he says his favorite whiskey was the X23, who's the Wolverine character, the female.
From,
yeah.
The comics and from the Logan. Because there was a promotional drink called that for the movie tie-in, I guess, somewhere. I don't know.
Huh.
And then he says it's really hard to pick a favorite movie, but most days it's The Princess Bride. So there you go. You got one for The Princess Bride right there.
Man deserves a medal.
Mustang writes favorite whiskey, Mackenzie Rye, and doesn't have a favorite cocktail. You guys familiar with Mackenzie Rye?
Yes, Mackenzie Rye. I think we reviewed it. We reviewed one of the Mackenzies. It might have been their bourbon. But I have had Mackenzie Rye. It's a really solid rye. Like I said, it sticks around a little too long with the spice. And like you said, it burns a lot, which that's just what rye does. And some people love it. So yeah, that's a good rye. Good choice.
And then his favorite movie is, and this is controversial, the Hobbit trilogy.
Okay, I take back everything I said. He doesn't have any sort of goodness in his soul.
Oh no, he's gonna listen to this episode and be like, oh.
Look, you need people with divisive opinions on things, and you can't have people who are right without people who are wrong. And clearly, thanks to him, we have people who are wrong so that we can be right.
Oh man, Mustang, if you're listening, that was Brad at Film and Whiskey and Chad at Fresh Tomatoes. I'm sure if you look up their podcast, you can find their emails.
You sure
we
can.
actually did an episode with The Hobbit. We did the last one. We did the Battle of the Five Armies. Yeah, and I had some feelings.
So when I was watching that movie in the theaters, and Legolas started playing Super Mario Bros. And jumping up the bricks,
yeah,
I literally started laughing out loud, and not just like giggling. I was like uproariously laughing, and my wife is like hitting me like, "Brad, shut up! Like you're being bothersome to the theater." I'm like, if anybody's actually enjoying this, they're the most ridiculous human beings on the planet.
Or Mustang.
Yeah, or Mustang.
Or Mustang.
Yes.
I have a confession to make. I actually didn't see the third one. I saw the first two, and I'm like,
keep it
not
that way.
worth my time. Not worth.
I was
my
gonna say
time.
that's not a confession. That should be like a joyous remark.
I'm a badge of honor. I have not seen Battle of the Five Armies.
So moving on, we've got Neutral Dorian, who writes. Sorry, my voice is being weird. Either Talisker Sky or Jura 7 Wood, depending on his mood. And no favorite cocktail. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know either of those. Talisker Sky.
I think Neutral Dorian's from the UK.
Okay.
I've never heard of it, to be fair, from my side of things.
And
Our
then
expert.
favorite movie, Good Will Hunting. That's a good pick.
Oh, great film.
Yeah, we actually did an interview with Watershed Distillery, which is based out of Columbus, Ohio, which is where I'm actually living right now. And Josh there, he chose Good Will Hunting as his favorite movie. And I can't disagree with anybody who would ever say that.
Yeah.
It's such a fantastic film.
So Lincoln
like
says
there's that scene.
Oh, go ahead. No,
it's fine.
I was just going to keep it moving. So Lincoln says, favorite whiskey, I'm underage, and favorite cocktail, I'm underage. Smart choice there, good. Lincoln. Good. Favorite movie, Apollo 13. Another good film. Speaking of Tom Hanks, another good film.
I was going to say, honestly, if he's underage and he also enjoys Apollo 13 as his favorite movie, color me impressed. I mean, good job
for each show.
Yeah, good job for branching out and watching movies that I'm guessing would be older than him.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So good job, Lincoln. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, there I go again.
Also, plausible deniability. Great job. Underage.
Nice work. Yeah. We've got another one, CD 1917, who writes, don't drink. I don't know if that just means don't drink or underage. And favorite movie, Heartbreak Ridge. I'm not familiar with Heartbreak Ridge.
I was going to say Heartbreak Ridge. That was it was Clint Eastwood in the 80s.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it. If I have, I probably watched it with my dad when I was a kid and probably shouldn't have been watching a movie like Heartbreak Ridge.
So next up is Dr. Brandroid, who writes, favorite whiskey, not big on dark liquor. If I had to say, the smoothest I've had was Wild Turkey. Cocktail, easy. In Savannah, Georgia, at Wet Willie's, there is a frozen strawberry cocktail, and it's amazing.
I love that he doesn't even put the name of the cocktail so we could like look it up or anything. Like, yeah, it's just frozen strawberry.
It's just frozen strawberry at Wet Willie's.
Go on down to Wet Willie's. Tell him Dr. Brandroid sent you.
Right, yeah. And then my favorite movie is without a doubt The Iceman with Michael Shannon and Ray Liotta.
Yeah, I mean,
watch it.
Ray Liotta, being famous from a little known movie like Goodfellas.
Yeah, nobody's seen that.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, and then Michael Shannon. Isn't Michael Shannon in NCIS? Who is he?
I don't know.
I could be wrong. No, I'm thinking of somebody else. I'm completely wrong.
Anyways. And then he says, related, any movie with Michael Shannon gets a pass in my book, legendary actor, my favorite. So maybe we need to be more aware of what Michael Shannon's in.
Yeah, I need to go figure out who Michael Shannon is.
I'm looking him up, doing quick Google, but I don't recognize him.
Yeah, I don't recognize him either. He looks a little bit like the guy, from NCIS that I can't think of his name. Anyways,
maybe they're brothers.
Yeah, who knows? Let's see. He's known for he was in The Shape of Water. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, I honestly don't know him. Dr. Brandroid, you are opening up our world.
Uh-oh, I think you cut out.
Did I cut out?
Yeah. You were opening up our, and then it just disappeared, and then we were left to wonder.
So many different words that could go out there. He's opening up our world, our movie
not
world.
kimonos. Good.
Okay.
And then we have CryptidCast Dave. So Dave from the CryptidCast, who joined the show last week, who writes favorite whiskey, Contradiction by Smooth Ambler. Have you heard of that?
Okay, I've heard of Smooth Ambler, but I've not had any of their. So I will definitely check that out.
And then favorite cocktail, Pim's Cup, probatably in Nola.
Pim's Cup.
I don't know what a Pim's Cup is.
That's a type of drink, but I don't know what's in it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Heard of it.
And then while you're looking that up, favorite movie, Return of the Jedi, North by Northwest, and Spirited Away.
Wow, those are three phenomenal choices. We need to get Cryptid on here maybe next week and have him talk about that, because I think Return of the Jedi is way underrated in the pantheon of Star Wars movies. It's really one of my favorites. North by Northwest is Hitchcock at his finest, and Cary Grant's probably my favorite actor of all time. I absolutely love him, and he's brilliant in North by Northwest. And then we take a hard left turn into Spirited Away, which is probably one of the best movies explaining Shinto and like Japanese culture that I've ever seen in my life. It's so well done. So yeah, those are three amazing choices on movies.
Yeah,
that's Studio Ghibli, right? Spirited Away.
Say it again.
Studio Ghibli, something like that.
Yes. Yep.
Ghibli.
Yeah.
I'm always looking, like on a Friday night, I'm looking for something to watch. I'm like, I want to watch one of those movies. And I look on Netflix and Hulu and everything. It's just not available. None of those films are like available anywhere to rent or stream.
I wonder if you have to get them on like Crunchyroll or one of those like services that really focuses on like. I
was about to say Crunchyroll might be the place to go.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do. I'm still trying to convince my wife to watch it. So.
It's weird, man. It is not American in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, maybe that's for myself then.
yeah. I will not lie to you. It is a very strange movie, but it's really well done.
Nice.
Cool.
Noted.
Well, that wraps up our list of people who wrote stuff in. Thank you guys for chiming in on the Discord, and maybe we'll do this a little bit more often before the next episode comes out. Kind of post a topic and see what people's thoughts are in the Robots Roundtable section of the Discord. And
I think that's a phenomenal idea.
Yeah,
definitely.
And so at the end of every one of these episodes, I pose some sort of question where each of the guests, each of the hosts who are guesting on the show get to compete at convincing the audience why their answer would win the title or whatever. And usually it's been most likely to whatever, that kind of thing. So since this week's a little bit different, I wanted to throw an idea out there and kind of twist it around. So it's not uncommon that people will pose a question like, if you're stuck on a desert island, what movie, if you could only have one movie to ever watch for the rest of your life, what movie would you bring onto the desert island? Right?
Ooh.
That kind of question. Okay. But I'm gonna twist this around, okay? Because our show's not a traditional podcast, and we are trying to be unique in the things that we do or whatever. I don't know what words to use. But so here's the twist is you are not stuck on the desert island. You have put the most evil human in the world on a desert island, and you're trying to kill them by making them watch one movie over and over and over again. What movie do you torture them to death with and would get them to die soonest?
Oh, right. Man.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going dark with this one. Because we already talked about a lot of our favorite films, and it's probably one of those that they're gonna watch. So like, which one is? I guess really the way to phrase this is what movie is most deadly to watch on repeat?
So I think I'm gonna say two movies here. The first one would be probably the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Like we talked about The Room earlier, which is probably the technical movie I've ever seen in my life, but I love it because it's so bad technically.
Right.
The worst movie I've ever seen in my life, though, that I hate the most is The Incredible Hulk. Not the one that came out in 2008 at the start of the Marvel Universe. The 2000 or 2001 was so bad. It was like 3.5 hours long, and there were these Hulk dogs, and it was literally the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. So terrible. So that would be my first choice. My second choice, if I'm allowed to be controversial, Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Ooh, wow.
Oh.
And maybe I'm just projecting myself on the evil human being, but I would probably kill myself if I had to watch that more than once in a row.
I'm in the same camp as you. I was anti Last Jedi. Coming out of it, I was just like, whoa, what did I just watch? Like, why are they killing everything we loved about this series in one go?
Yep. Yeah, Rian Johnson just decided that he just wanted to take a giant crap all over the entire Star Wars universe.
And I don't know. They say they're going to retcon things and fix things, but it made me lose a little bit of faith in the series and where it's going to go.
Yep.
But
yeah, I lost faith when it got sold to Disney, and then they just continued to prove me right.
Anyway, not when you want to be proven right.
Yeah, not at all. And that's the thing. I want to love it. I'm not somebody who's looking to nitpick everything, but I ended up doing it. So
yeah, I've still got hopes for the next film to at least pick some of it.
We'll see what JJ can do with it, and if he can bring it back from the brink.
Well, like you were saying earlier, Return of the Jedi it's so underrated. It's such a great film. And I think Revenge of the Sith was a good film. I don't think that was the best of the prequels. I think it's actually well done.
Yep.
So if they can get this third one right too, I mean, maybe there's some hope.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Sebastian, you and I have very similar taste in Star Wars movies, which makes me like you.
This is good. Yeah, that's the basis of all my friendships is how you like Star Wars. So
well, that's good that you guys now have friends. I'm still looking for them. So thanks for rubbing that in.
Oh man.
That's why we're here.
Man.
All right, Sebastian. So what movie would you want to kill Hitler? I mean, a bad person.
Yeah. Which one? It can be Hitler, sure.
Well, I'm going to make Hitler watch All About Steve. It's a rom-com from 2009. Visiting some friends in college in New York when that came out in theaters. And these two of my friends, were dying to watch it. We ended up seeing like an 11 o'clock showing of All About Steve in the middle of Manhattan. And I almost did kill myself. Like it was the closest I came to actually, I've never walked out of a movie halfway through, mostly now because it's so expensive.
Yep.
But that was the closest I came. I was angry, physically angry at what was happening on the screen. It stars Sandra Bullock, I'm trying to remember, and Bradley Cooper.
Yep.
Has good actors in it, and it's just abysmal. It is so bad. Nothing makes sense. It's bad for even rom-com standards.
Yeah.
Forcing somebody to watch that would drive them insane pretty quick.
It's amazing to me how you realize it's with movies like that you realize actors are good on their own. Like they have to have the ability to act, but if you don't have good writers behind a good actor, it doesn't matter how good of an actor you are. You can still be in crappy movies if you have crappy writers.
There's a whole team. It's even, and then the direction and the editing, because you know that all these takes that actually got into this movie, those are taken for any movie. Every movie has bad takes, but somebody's making the decision to be like, yep, that's the one. That's the one we're going to put in front of people. And it's like, what? Really? You're going to make that decision? Just shoot it again. Make another choice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big thing that I think an average moviegoer doesn't realize is that whenever you're watching a movie, millions of dollars have gone into this movie. So every single thing you see, you hear, you feel like has been chosen by somebody to be evoked in you, for you to be able to see. And so when you watch crappy movies, you start to wonder to yourself what you just said, Sebastian, of like, wait, they chose to use this scene? They chose to use this line of dialogue?
This was intentional?
They didn't decide to... Yeah, all of it was intentional.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
Yeah, that's mine. It's getting me angry just talking about it. So I'm gonna stop.
Oh man, I've never seen it myself, but I can imagine it's a good choice.
I think actually Fresh Tomatoes just did their rom-com episode, Tom.
Yeah, I think so. That was something. That was a thing.
It was a thing that happened.
Yeah. It looks like we lost Chad though. It looks like his internet ate him again.
I think it did.
Oh, okay.
So maybe we'll leave it at that. What I think I'll do if he doesn't pop in right before the end is get his take on this and put it on the poll on Twitter, and then everybody can vote. So check out at robots_radio where the poll will be, and I'm sure all the other hosts will share that as well in order to try to get people to vote for theirs. So
that sounds great.
Pick out a winner. And let's see. Last week we had the question was, who is most likely to be abducted by an alien? And we had Corn Black from Under the Shroud, Aaron Morris from the Destiny games, and Will Byers from Stranger Things. And Will Byers won with 50% of the vote. It was 50 against 30 against 20, going back up the list. So congratulations to Will Byers. You are the most likely to be abducted by aliens. I think that was who's up. I forget who suggested that one. Ken. I think that was Ken's. So congratulations, Ken. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me. This has been a lot of fun talking movies and whiskey and all sorts of other stuff that came up as we discussed. That seems to be the way we do it here on Robots Roundtable. We just kind of chat and things go all sorts of different directions. So that's awesome.
Yeah, this is great. I actually have one last question. Like I said, I'm in DC tonight by myself for work. I'm going to see a movie, and my choices are between Hobbs and Shaw and Spider-Man. You guys have any input?
Ooh, I've seen Spider-Man. Spider-Man's always pretty good.
Good?
I haven't seen Hobbs and Shaw, though. I don't know. Mr. Gomi says Spider-Man in chat. Brad is muted. I don't know if he's trying to talk. Hey, Brad, are you back?
Hey, sorry.
Do you have a thought on this one?
Say the question again.
Oh, I'm seeing a movie tonight. It's down to Hobbs and Shaw or Spider-Man. And I didn't know if you had a recommendation.
So I have not seen any of the Fast and Furious movies, but from what I've heard, Hobbs and Shaw is actually a really fun ride. So from what I've heard from friends, I would recommend that. But I will say Spider-Man was phenomenal. It's so well done. So I would recommend that.
Okay.
You can't go wrong with the Spider-Man.
All the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
All right. It's decided. I'll go do that.
Nice.
Cool. So to wrap this up, why don't we start with Brad and let everybody know how to get a hold of you, how to check out your show, any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we are streaming on any service. We're on, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, all the podcast apps. We try to get people to listen on Radio Public because Radio Public pays us money if you listen on their app.
Oh,
so
that's
on
nice.
there. Yeah, have you guys heard of Radio Public? You guys should check it out.
Yeah, I need to go look that up. I haven't really.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're a super cool one. It's not going to make you crazy money unless you have crazy listeners. So just know that.
Like advertising in general.
Like advertising in general. So long story short, you can find us anywhere. Our Instagram page is usually the most active. But you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Film Whiskey with an E, because some people spell their whiskey without an E if you're drinking scotch.
Yeah, that's a thing. Cool.
So yeah, check us out. We just got started in February. We've put out about 35 episodes, I think. And man, the response has just been amazing. We have a loyal following already. We're super excited, to be a part of the Robots Radio Network now. Like, things are just moving, and we're so excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, and to talk you guys up a little bit, you do a really, really solid professional job managing the conversation, talking about, salient, interesting points about the movies, rating the whiskey and giving really good descriptors to help people understand what it is you're tasting, all that kind of stuff. So,
man, I appreciate that so much, Tom. Bob and I both are a little bit anal about how we do things. And I think it does kind of come across that we genuinely are trying to put out high quality content in a high quality sound, recording. And we really try to do our best for the listeners.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's why you're part of the network. So welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sebastian, how can people get a hold of you?
So I am at Hidden Pixels Pod, pretty much everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can look at the website, hiddenpixelspodcast.com. And then the show's on every podcatcher, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. We just started a YouTube channel in case people want to listen there or have that at work, or that's just easier. So I'm uploading everything there.
Oh, man. We just started uploading our stuff to YouTube, and we have so many copyright claims.
Oh, yeah, because of all the movie clips and stuff.
Because we do the movie clips.
Oh.
Yeah. So the best part is there is somebody claiming that we took Samuel L. Jackson's speech from the end of Pulp Fiction from his song, where he sampled that speech into his song.
Oh my God.
And he put a copyright claim on us. And
Sounds legit. You should be worried.
Yeah, Bob was like, bro, like, you sampled it. Like, this isn't your intellectual property.
This is a sample of a sample, buddy. That's not how this works.
If your name's Jackson, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, so YouTube is turning out to be a little bit more than we expected it to be.
Yeah, it's I hopefully don't have any copyright issues yet, because the stories, I don't know, it's not the actual gameplay sound or anything like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to have any issues with that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries. Yeah, and that's about it. We're releasing a new episode this week on Friday. It should be pretty good. It's Undertale. It's from the Undertale universe, so we've been working on that. We just released an Elder Scrolls episode 2 a couple weeks ago, so if you haven't checked that out, check it out.
Yeah, I checked that one out. That was great. Talking about red guards and freeing slaves and all sorts of cool stuff.
The twin lamps.
Yeah, the twin lamps. Cool.
And I will say, one of the things that I'm so excited to join the Robots Radio Network is the fact, that you guys are all video game nerds, and Bob is not at all.
No.
He played through the Super Nintendo era, and then like video games moved forward, and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, needless to say, he and I spent a lot of hours in college playing NBA Jam on my Super Nintendo.
Big head mode. Sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge video game nerd. Like, absolutely massive. So, like, when Bob approached me and was like, hey, man, I want to join this podcast network, but they mostly have, like, video game stuff, but they're kind of expanding into different, genres and realms. I was like, bro, I'm gonna fit in perfect with this group.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, one of the things that I talk about with a lot of the hosts is reach out to the other hosts on the network, have them guest on your shows, because there's what I've found, especially from doing this show, is that everybody is very interesting and has a lot of experience, a lot of things to pull from. So it's kind of fun to get each other's takes and have each other guest on each other's shows. So yeah, definitely reach out to the other guys on the network too.
For sure.
So Chad's not here yet, so I'll rep his stuff for him. Chad is from the Fresh Tomatoes podcast. Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast, I believe is the full name. And you can get that anywhere and check it out. And like he mentioned at the beginning of the show, they give good reviews, or at least they pick out the good stuff about terrible movies. So if you're interested in a positive perspective on things, then go check that out. So, and then I am Robots, or Tom, either way, and I am the guy who coordinates things here on the network and also does the Fallout Lorecast and the Elder Scrolls Lorecast and a bunch of other weird shows, and including the Cyberpunk Lorecast in order to get ready for that game coming out soon. So that's exciting. Are you guys interested in Cyberpunk at all?
Oh yeah, the Witcher was just so good. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with the first person kind of shooter RPG kind of genre.
Yeah, so I've played through Witcher 3. Brilliant game. And so yeah, it has kind of led me to a decent bit of excitement for Cyberpunk.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm again, like I mentioned earlier, part of my interest in starting shows is to dig into the lore for myself. So I'm not super well versed on the world of Cyberpunk and things yet, but I'm working on it. And one of my coworkers is actually really it's like he plays tabletop role playing games like weekly with a regular group. Yeah. It's like his main bread and butter, and this is his favorite series of all the different tabletop games. So he gave me access to like a whole ton of the books and things, and so I'm just nerding out about all the details. So I'm going to be diving
super exciting
deeper, into that stuff. So yep, that's going to be a lot of fun. So I guess that's it for hanging out this week. Thank you guys for joining us, and maybe you'll join. Oh, I've got dogs in the background, as I usually do at the end of the show. But thank you for joining us, and welcome again, Brad, to the network. I'm sure we will all be chatting some more and getting to know each other better in the coming weeks. And Sebastian, I'm glad you could pop in.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I was late, but glad to be here. Thanks for hosting, Tom.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. And remember to check out Twitter at robots_radio to chime in on the poll. And as always, we would love any help you can give us with ratings and reviews on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, I guess we should call it. And that would help as well get the show into, in front of more people. So I'll talk to you guys again maybe next week, and have a great week, everyone.
See you.
Sounds great. See you guys.
And cut. Cool. Thanks, guys.
There it is.
There it is. Hey, chat. We're done the show. We can respond to you directly now.
Yes, we can.
At least better. Mr. Gomi Boy wrote, "Whiskey means water of life in Irish."
Oh, yeah. Dude, it truly is the water of life. Like, when I talk about it being the golden nectar of the gods, I love whiskey. Oh man, yeah, and that's honestly like I'm a noob when it comes to whiskey. Like, I've obviously been trying a lot and moving into different areas, and I had never had a single sip of scotch before I started this podcast.
Oh wow!
so I'm new to scotch. We're getting into it. So it's really been a journey for both Bob and I to move through all these different whiskeys, and I can't tell you how much fun it's been to do all this.
Yeah, I feel like I listened to, was it Pinnacle? Was that the interview you just released?
Or
maybe I went back and grabbed it.
No.
Whatever the latest interview was that you guys just did, I think I learned more from that than I had ever known about whiskey because it was just so informative.
Yeah, I think it was Peerless, maybe.
Peerless, not Pinnacle.
Yeah, but I think we did Pinnacle as well.
Oh.
Let's see.
I listened to Peerless.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate you listening, man. That's that's super cool. I'm excited to listen to Hidden Pixels.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's just checking yours out. It was interesting to see how like their story started, and how it was like a family business and like.
Mm-hmm.
not out of business. They had to shut down because of prohibition and everything.
Right. Yeah. They shut down, and then
story. It was awesome.
100 years later, he starts it back up, gets the original liquor license number that his great grandfather had. Just a super cool guy.
Yeah, and that really came through. You could really tell. He just seemed chill. Loved doing what he was doing, and just
Yeah, actually, if you wanted to, we actually took video of that interview. So on our YouTube channel, you could actually see video of it.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that was really cool. And then 2 weeks before that, or a week before that, we put out the interview with Bardstown Bourbon Company. That they are the ones who put out that Fight for Pavitt, the $150 wine one.
The affordable one.
Yeah, the really affordable one. So now that we're not recording, I'll go ahead and say it. They gave us a bottle of it for free.
Oh, they did.
Oh, nice.
Yes, they did. We were literally getting up and getting ready to leave, and they just gave us a free bottle of this Fight for Pavitt, and I'm drooling. And so I took it home, and then Bob was staying in Kentucky for an extra day, so he stopped by my house the next day on the way home, and we split it up. But it was everything in my soul not to hide it and not give him any.
I think that story alone shows I'm in the wrong show. I have the wrong focus here.
Dude, honestly, I kid you not. We just start asking. Bob just starts emailing this people, and Bob's super professional, and he words things so well that people are just yeah, we'd love to get onto a podcast and do an interview and give you free whiskey. We have gotten so much free whiskey. Literally yesterday, I got a box with 4 different 375 milliliter bottles of Sonoma whiskey. Just for free. It just showed up at my house. Yeah, and I take a picture of it, and I'm like, "Hey, Bob, whiskey?" And he's like, "Oh yeah. I sent you more whiskey." So fun fact, you are not allowed to mail liquor or any alcohol in the mail to a personal, person to person, but you can do it from business to business. So I actually run my own wedding company. I do wedding design, and I do wedding planning and coordinating and all this stuff. So my house is actually my business address.
Wow.
So we just have all of the free whiskey that's sent to my house.
Some of it might get lost.
So, yeah, I mean, Bob's gonna be yes,
yeah.
They said that they sent you some whiskey. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They definitely didn't send 4 bottles.
Last night. Well, and the crazy thing was, most of the time they'll send like 375 milliliters, which is half of a fifth. Smaller bottles, which is more than enough for us to sample on air. But every once in a while, a company will just send us a full fifth of their whiskey.
Oh man!
And
are these companies that you highlighted on the show, or?
Yeah, we'll usually open them up and sample them on the show, either during an episode or sometimes during a bonus episode.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So they're getting the airtime from it.
Yep. Yeah, they're getting the airtime, and we're trying them, but in the end, we're just getting a lot of free whiskey.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing.
I wish they'd send us free video games, huh?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. You need to call Konami and ask them if you can do an interview with them.
There you
Nintendo of America, will you send us?
Yeah, and honestly, it's really been all smaller startup distilleries that are all about it. That they're just all about getting their name out there in any way, and they send a lot of free whiskey out, and we partake in it.
Yeah, I believe it. Holy crap. That's awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out, guys. I'm gonna go grab some food. I hadn't really eaten lunch yet, so
I had to disappear there for a second at the end because I had to use the bathroom. I needed a bio break, something fierce.
You guys have been on for 2 hours, right?
Yeah, this has been a long episode, but it's been good.
Yeah.
We've had some really good conversation.
Yeah, sorry it went so long. I just looked at the clock and realized it's 2:55.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
So,
man, well, great to meet you guys. Great to talk to you, and I'll try to be on 2 or 3 times a month on the Roundtable.
Yeah, for sure. And if you want to jump in games, and if you're playing multiplayer or anything, there's a bunch of us that play lots of different games. So,
that's true. I've been playing Rainbow Six Siege a ton lately.
Yeah, the DL, the guys from the DL, or Jameson and Brenna, play Siege regularly. I've got it too, but I haven't played in a while.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let them know.
Cool. And I'm doing I'm wrapping up your little audit for your show.
Perfect.
So, I've got most of it done. I just need to read through it all one more time before I send it off. But we'll probably get together and chat sometime this week.
Yeah, Bob was saying that he's putting together like a script for us to do an advertisement for our show to give to the other podcasts.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
And Sebastian's starting a new show too.
Ooh. Yeah. What are you doing?
I almost said something about it, and then it's not quite ready to announce. So the game The Outer Worlds is coming out in October, and so I'm doing kind of like so it's basically looking at news and gameplay and like the lore, kind of like what you're doing, Tom, with the Cyberpunk Lorecast.
Yeah.
Where you just look at it all, try to get excited, try to build on the hype, and
fill people in on things before it launches, and then dive more into the game once it's out.
It's deep, and I can keep it going once it comes out.
Yeah,
it should be. It seems like it's like essentially they're calling it the spiritual successor to New Vegas. So
okay,
hopefully it cashes in.
That'll be really cool.
Yeah. I have 2 episodes recorded, and I'm working with Ian actually from Under the Shroud. His girlfriend, I think, does art, and she's like making a logo for me.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it should be good. I actually got to follow up with him.
Yeah, leveraging those network connections.
Cool. Well, yeah, like Tom said, I'm going to get off and eat some food. So great. Yeah, great to meet you guys today. I'm looking forward to building all of our podcasts together.
Yeah. Same here. Nice to meet you, Brad.
Awesome, guys. Yep. See you later.
See ya.
All right, friends. That's it for the stream right now. I might be on later doing some video game streaming. So thanks for hanging out for the shows and for the show. Singular, not plural. But yeah, I'm going to go grab some food. I will see you guys around later. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, guys.